Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 523. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and my guest today is a debut middle grade author, Jennifer Dickinson, and her new book is the kind of story that's easy to root for because it's doing two things at once. It's funny, heartfelt sixth grade friendship, and their theater story. And it's also a rare, faithful portrait of a kid who stutters, written by an author who grew up with the same speech difference. Jennifer's novel is Maggie's Big Break, on sale April 30th, 2026. It follows Maggie Pearson, an 11-year-old aspiring actress, starting at a new school with her best friend, Francesca. They're dreaming big, audition, spotlight in the school play until a confident new rival, Valentine, starts pulling Francesca away from teasing Maggie about her stutter. Suddenly, Maggie's confidence takes a hit, and the question becomes, how do you keep going after you've been embarrassed, abandoned, and made to feel like your voice is a problem? What makes this conversation especially worth your time is that Jennifer doesn't treat stuttering as something to fix. She's interested in confidence, identity, and the freedom that performance can sometimes offer when speaking in real life feels like it comes with pressure. Jennifer, it's great to talk to you. What made you decide this would be your debut story?
Well, I had written a lot of short stories, and I have actually written drafts of 2 other books, but they weren't really ripped from the headlines of my life. And I wanted to write something that was really connected to my own story and something that happened to me. And because I became such an active reader and writer at the age that Maggie is in the book, it was appealing to me to write about that time.
And so what do people misunderstand most about stuttering?
Well, what do they misunderstand most? I would say that just last night, I was in a conversation with somebody who I'm close to, and she finished my sentence. And I think that people think that if they finish your sentence, you both know where you're going probably with the sentence. And they think they're being helpful by jumping in and saying, the end of the sentence. And so I think that's something that people get wrong. They think that, perfection is so often the goal in our culture. And as a woman, I can particularly speak to that. And so when your speech is not perfect, it makes people uncomfortable sometimes. They don't know where to look. They stare at your mouth. They finish your sentence. So I think that is probably one of the most frustrating aspects of it.
Now, what did you want to avoid in the way stuttering is often portrayed?
My publisher and I both worked very hard at not portraying the stutter, just as you said in your intro, as something to fix. But this is something that Maggie is a part of her life. Her mom is accepting of it. Her dad was hugely influential in her life and helping her take risks and be confident. And so we really didn't want to write, to create a story and put out into the world that there was something inherently wrong with Maggie. We didn't want to create that. So it was very intentional on my part to have a confident girl on that page, on page 1, somebody who is bouncing into school, like, I'm ready to be at my new school, just because that was her worldview going in.
And so what do you hope a kid who stutters feels while reading this book?
That's a really wonderful question. I hope that they feel valued and validated. I think so often when I was a kid, I didn't see my story represented. So I didn't feel that my story had any value. So I want a kid to read it. And, maybe they're thinking, I want to try theater. So they go audition for a play. Like, I would love to inspire children who stutter to take risks.
And so why did you choose, talking about the theater aspect of it, why did you choose theater as Maggie's dream for the story?
Well, because it was my dream. And going back to what I was saying in the beginning, I wanted to write something about me that was really true. And so when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actor. I really, I was very, I was a lot like Maggie. Unfortunately, my circumstances were different. Like, I didn't necessarily have that confident worldview. I had wonderful parents who were supportive of me, and I want to make sure to say that. But I was bullied a lot. I was bullied a lot as a kid. So it affected my worldview. I did not bounce into middle school, super confident. That was not me. So yeah.
And so what is it about performance that can feel freeing for someone who feels pressure about speaking then?
I think one of the most beautiful aspects of theater, and I speak from experience as a theater major from college, is when you are with a group of people and you are doing improv and you're being silly and you're letting it all hang out and you're doing whatever the heck you want on stage, that is good training for life. It's good training to accept yourself, to be more comfortable and confident around people when you're not being teased for being wild and different and eccentric, but encouraged.
Now, what's the difference between confidence in communication and perfect speech?
Well, Maggie's speech is never perfect in this book. So she has moments where she really doubts herself because of the circumstances that take place within the plot and the encounters that she has with the school bully and her best friend. And I wanted to emphasize that the point was for her to be confident and to be in that play, not necessarily to come on the other side of the story trying to speak perfectly. Like, speaking perfectly is not the goal. And for me in my life, I didn't tell people. I would try, as I got older, for people to not know I had a stutter. I really bought the lie for a lot of my life that, I would be thought less than if people found out. And then when I started working with women as a teacher in 2015, I found that when I started talking about what made me different, it only connected me more deeply to the people I was working with.
So who is Maggie at page 1, and what changes her by the end of the story?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think Maggie's confidence is tested. And I think that is something that a lot of us can relate to, both young and old. Sometimes we go into a situation thinking we know how it's going to be because of the way things have been in the past. So we're confident, and then we're sorely tested. So I think she learns by the end of the book that she is going to rely on this circle of girls that she becomes friends with to help amplify her and her voice. Because when she begins the book, it's her and her one friend. By the end of the book, she's surrounded by a beautiful group. So that was very intentional on my part. I went to a women's college. I teach primarily women. And I have been hugely encouraged and supported by groups of women in my life. And I wanted to make the point in the story that one of the things that I hope that Maggie, as she goes on in her life, will carry on is having these authentic relationships with other people, women, friends.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. Thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. Talking a little bit more about some of the other characters, like Francesca starts as a best friend. What did you want to explore about friendship shifts in middle school?
Oh gosh. My best friend in the 7th grade dumped me, and it was very, very sad. And I did a lot of crying and soul searching and clutching my cat at night as I tried to sleep. So I think it's a very topsy-turvy time for friendship because people are going in, especially if you started a new school, you're figuring out your identity, not only in the school, but as part of your identity in the world because you're starting to get older. So I really wanted to explore that. Also, going back to what we've been talking about here, because it's deeply connected to my own story. I did experience that at a young age, that friendship ending. I've had other friendships as an adult end. It doesn't get easier. It's hard. Our identities as people, they're always shifting and changing. And when a friendship doesn't walk with you always, it's hard. And so I wanted to explore that.
Mm. And now, and talk a little bit about Valentine being that strong catalyst.
Yeah.
What makes her believable and not just the quote unquote villain?
um I think Valentine's really funny. I know she's mean, but she does say some funny things. I mean, a child that says, "Do you have to be agented to audition to a teacher?" That's ridiculous, in my opinion. So, but ridiculous in a good way, in a silly way. So, Valentine, I think, is I hope that readers by the end of the story will feel sorry for her a little bit because she's missing out when those girls perform that play together and it's so special. She's not there. So she's there throughout a lot of the story, but then she's not there at the end. So um you know I don't think she's a caricature. I worked really hard on that. Because I know I've read books where it's like a caricature. It's like a villain you've read 100 times. And I think also people that live in LA which is where I live, and we're surrounded by the entertainment industry. And so to go to school with industry kids, that kind of thing, I thought that could be relatable to some of the people that lived here too.
What role does humor play in making tough feelings readable?
Oh, humor is everything.
Mm.
Humor is how I, for the past 2 years of losing two very special people in my life, have been able to be okay. Like, I think Maggie laughing with her friends, there's a scene in the book where she pretends to act in front of her new friend Olivia. She's pretending to act and she's doing a really bad job. And her friend's like, what do I say? Because it's real bad. And it's a silly moment between them. And so it provides moments of levity. So you have the moments of she's getting teased or bullied, and that's painful and hard to read about for her. But then you have a moment like that where the sun is shining outside and she's performing for her friend, and it reminds us that that's how we survive, I think.
Mm. Now, so I know, I got 3 children, 2 of them stutter. I actually stuttered when I was in junior high, and then I went into a school play, and then that helped a lot with stuttering. And so I love the story behind this because it's definitely something that I can kind of grasp. But with that said, what's one thing parents should do less when a child stutters?
I go back to the stutter rules that Maggie outlines in the book pretty early on. Don't interrupt and don't finish sentences. It's a terrible feeling. And I also think ask your kid how he or she, how they feel about their stutter. How do you feel about it? Do you want to talk about it? Don't assume that it's something that needs to be fixed. I think I don't have kids. I don't have them, but I have many friends who have kids. And I think being a parent is the hardest job on the planet.
Mm.
I firmly believe that. And so I think that the other thing is with a parent, I would say, is if you make a mistake or you feel like you screwed up, you can say that to your kid. So if you have a situation where in dealing with their stutter, you mess up, apologize and say that, ask them what they want or what they feel. Really get intel from them and don't assume that because I think people's relationships to their disabilities, they're all different. So you said you had a stutter as a kid, but your stutter didn't look like mine. So, it's a unique experience to each person.
What's one thing parents can say that helps more than they realize then?
My mom just said, I love you a lot. My mom said she loved me, and she loved me. She loved me she was always, the reminder that my mom was always there for me and that she loved me. I know it's simple, but I dedicated the book to her.
Mm.
So I think simple goes a long way.
Right. Now, when a teacher reads this book, what's the best discussion questions to start off with then?
The best discussion questions. I would say that it would be really interesting to get the kids talking about times in their lives that they've felt different and generate conversations around how we can support one another and generate that kind of a discussion with the kids. So the teacher's not saying, well, this is how you do it necessarily. They're facilitating and they're guiding. But I've had some interesting conversations just in these last few weeks with kids at school, just about differences and how we can show up for each other. I always say that as my job as a book coach and a teacher, that being a listener is my biggest part of my job, is just listening. So I think emphasizing that we want to listen and be open to each other and hear each other's stories. I know that's kind of a strange, maybe not specific, but.
What did you learn about yourself by finishing this debut novel?
That I'm a really good writer. that I'll do the work, because some days I did not want to do the work. I wanted to throw the book into the sea. So, but I didn't ever. I saw it through, and I feel I'm really excited to write the next thing. I have tennis elbow, so I'm not able to work on any writing right now, but when it goes away, I'm looking forward to sitting back down, and I feel like I'm a better problem solver with writing now, because I had to solve a lot of story issues as we were developing it. So
now, so when you're looking at like another book, would you continue to follow Maggie's storyline, or is this are you gonna do like a completely different character?
I really love Maggie. So it's funny, I've had some kids that are like, tell Olivia's story, talk about Olivia and the pool lights, and like show her getting the lights, and doing sign language at school and everything, and all that would be really cool. But I'm kind of still obsessed with Maggie. Like, I miss her, So I feel like I'm percolating on a sequel for her.
And is it going to be like the same school year? Or are you going to like have her age?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like, I really want to ask myself what sounds fun to write. That's kind of where I start when I'm trying to figure out what a big project or a short story I'm going to work on for a couple months. What sounds fun to write? Who do I want to hang out with every day for months and months and months, years? So I think I'm going to start there. What sounds like a lot of fun? Will it be fun to age her up and put her in the 8th grade, 7th grade? Will it be? I don't know the answer to that yet.
Mm. Now, so so talk to us a little bit about then, like from the editing perspective, how different is the book from its first draft to its final product?
It's very different. It's very different. When Includus came on board with the book, the bully storyline was not as developed. So
Mm.
one of the things that there was a bully, but it wasn't as developed as it currently is in the copy that you hold in your hands. Like, we really worked on that. I think I was reticent, honestly, to go there because it was very painful. You know, it was one thing to write about wanting to be an actor and having a stutter. It was another thing to really explore those complicated friendship loss feelings from that time. That was very painful. So I think I almost didn't go there in the beginning because of the emotional landscape I was, sure to encounter. And it was hard, but I think it made for a much richer story to show that.
Was there any part of the story that your editor said, well, we just got to cut this out, we don't have room for it?
I did that.
Yeah.
I had a whole chapter about Maggie riding horses, and it was in there for a long time. And my sweet publisher and my sweet editor, they were so kind to me to let that stay in there for a long time. And then I realized, like, we just don't even need this. And it was like 10 pages. It was a lot of page time. I became a much better editor the more that I worked on this with the two editors that Includus paired me with, Susan and Laura, who were incredible. Working with them made me realize, I need to cut out. I mean, it's a sweet scene. She's on a horse. It's cute, but like, it wasn't really helping with the story. So,
Right. Now, so Jennifer, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where's the best place they could go to?
So, JenniferDickinsonWrites.com is my website, and it's got everything. It's got how to work with me if you want to work with me as a client. I'm going to be hopefully running a summer camp in LA for 2 weeks based on the book in August for kids. So I've got a whole team that I'm working on with about that. We're about to put something about that on the website. There's all my published short stories. There's like everything is on there.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we talk about this being your debut middle grade novel, but you have published a lot of work already.
Yeah, I love to write short stories. I could write short stories every day.
Right. And so you also, if people are interested in working with you, you do editorial services and you do some writing coaching as well.
And I do classes. I do every other week poetry online class.
Wow.
Every single week, and have since 2020. So yeah, do a lot of stuff.
Right. That's fantastic. So Jennifer, people can go to JenniferDickinsonWrites.com and they can see the book. They can order the book. They can also go to their local library and request the local library to carry the book as well.
Oh my gosh, please. And finally, I'm working with my publicist right now on a book tour in Virginia, DC, and New York, September and October. So if you're an educator and you're listening to this, write me through my website because we're filling the calendar. So, and I'll come to your school and you'll have all this magic in person. So.
Perfect. Jennifer, you're going to have to come back on when you have your other book coming out. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Right, it has been. I loved it.